Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Another Ramblings episode. First, thank you, sponsors. Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, COMC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentications. The weather has been bad here lately, but bad weather means more sales for me on my eBay and my COMC accounts. I've really enjoyed that. First of all, just rambling, the Baseball Hall of Fame and the Football Hall of Fame. It's that time of year we're talking about this shocking stuff, but it is what it is. I'm pretty good about not complaining about things I can't control. But we do see my COMC and eBay sales when we have these close calls for Baseball Hall of Fame or people that are moving up. I've had increased interest in those kind of guys. Next rambling, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and he had a stamp collection. He had some cards when he was a kid. I got those, and he collected stamps after that, and I'm the executor of his will, so I'm trying to sell his stamp collection. I'll tell you what, if he would have bought baseball cards instead of stamps throughout his adult life. But I think he probably just thought, hey, that's my son's hobby. And I don't remember him spending a lot of money or a lot of time on stamps. He's got these big books of stamps and they're not worth very much. So I went to the first stamp guy, the closest one, which there aren't as many anymore, and just did not get a competitive offer. So I'm just thinking if I had that much weight, 2 big boxes of baseball cards from the 30s, 40s, 50s, wow. And this guy, this stamp expert, it took him 15 minutes to go through 2 boxes with all these stamps and come up with a number that was unacceptable. So live and learn. And yet my dad was proud of me, but I wish he'd have copied me. And I'm glad I didn't copy him with getting a bunch of stamps. Next rambling, I really think I'm like a dollar box ambassador. I'm realizing, not that I'm talking about it so much, but just when it comes up that if you have $100, are you going to buy one $100 card or 100 $1 cards? Of course, I'm going to go for the 100 $1 cards. To me, that's 100 times as much fun. Really, what that points out is I'm saying it's okay for me to go for good, but not great cards. I'm not getting great cards. I have some great cards. But like I said, if you're out there and most of the buzz is about the best thing you can get, I'm excited about getting good cards. And I hope you are too. If you're only excited about getting great cards, this is not really the way I hobby. The next thing that came up, it may have been Sports Card Live or the Hojcast, but there was a discussion. In fact, I've had this discussion with other people about consolidating. In other words, you want to buy a card, you don't have the money handy, but you have a valuable collection or some cards in your collection that you could release, that you could sell, and that money could turn in. There's services that will help you with that. What came up, and even my discussion last week with Jeremy Lee about consolidation of big cards, and isn't that the same as trading to regular guys for Roberto Clemente back when I was a kid? Not exactly, because we're talking about 1,000 for one, so it's simpler days. But what I want to get at today, just briefly, is that when I was hearing some of these stories on other podcasts as well, I think Brett McGrath, Stacking Slabs, had a discussion with somebody, or maybe that was Dave. Anyway, I listen to a bunch of podcasts when I hear something, but this was the consolidation aspect that is contingent. In other words, I'm going to bid on this card, and if I win it, I need to pay for it. And do I need to sell my cards now to raise the money to have that money? Or do I work with a service? And what happens if I don't even win the card? Especially in the Chris Hoge situation where he's got a card that's just a killer card, just a fabulous card. He can make a decision if he sells all these great cards that he'll never get back. And then he may not win the card. It's not a shill bidding thing. This is a highly desirable card. So the contingent consolidation is tricky. If he sells in advance and then doesn't win the card, that would be bad. So I hope he's not doing that. As I think he's a true collector, I'd love to see him get this 1-of-1 MJ card, but it's going to be well advertised and it's an Apex card. So I'm not thinking he is independently wealthy with 9-figure net worth. That's the kind of people that might be bidding on this thing. So I wish you luck, Chris, but don't count your chickens before they hatch. In fact, there's a point at which I think it's not a good deal to have the very best, even for any card. There's a number at which, and I think that's inconceivable to some people in the hobby, but I've been around long enough that there's a lot of alternatives. The second best card, the 100th best card, there's a lot of great cards out there. And if you have huge net worth and you want to buy huge cards, you can do that. But wow. I just think for me, I look at, is this a decent deal? And you get caught in an auction, you have what you want to spend, and it could go for many times what it is. This could be a card like that. So I hope Chris as a collector wins, but I can't control that either. Got a package from Panini in the mail. Always appreciate that. A box of 2025 Select Baseball. Been out for a couple weeks, and I was thinking that's going to be fun to open. 12 packs of 5. I noticed when I got the box, and it's about a $160 box, which $160 for a box of 3 autographs or memorabilia on average. All that sounds good. If they were completely licensed by MLB as well as the Players Association, it'd be, I think, at least double that. However, the Porch Pirates don't know that. All they know is there was a box sitting out there in front of our house, and it was marked with Panini tape. And the return address said Panini. Now, it did not get stolen, but cautionary tale, if you've got stuff out there, if you're getting something from companies or any return address that suggests the hobby, be careful. Anyway, it wasn't sitting out in the rain or snow, but I did get it. The card companies get a bad rap when they give approximate odds. On average, you're going to get 3 autographs or memorabilia cards. I hope one of these days they'll have more accessible card manufacturer production facility tours. I've been several times, and it's more complicated. Just the way they put it, cards are inserted 1 per so many packs. Cards could stick together. There's lots of ways things can mess up, and it's a small percentage of mess ups, but it does. And if you go to one of these facilities, they're huge and there's a lot of moving parts. I've got friends at all the card companies and they all have the same dilemma. I got a nice card from Joe White, which was a random act of kindness. He did work for me, but there's nobody nicer in the hobby. And that doesn't mean he's nicer than Rich Klein, but there's a lot of great guys in the hobby, but none any nicer and thoughtful than Joe. Thank you, Joe. And I'm hoping that Panini can do some kind of football and basketball next year. I don't know that they will get a license from the Players Association or whether they can sign some players that are retired, that are not members of the union. But I just think they've got some great sub-brands, and I hope there's a way to continue that. I think there's a lawsuit involved, but I try to be a peacemaker. One of the things that may help Panini going forward, because again, this is a baseball product that I enjoyed and opened, is that there's a mix of legends, old-timers, as well as still active players, as well as pre-rookies. But again, since they're not fully licensed, then it's going to be like a good deal. I was very pleased. I think I got 8 cards out of the box, out of 12 packs of 5. That's 60 cards. 8 of them jump all over them if they were in a $1 box. Okay. But I'm starting to think when I open a box, I want that to be a large number. I also would like to have a decent number of gradable cards, but that may only be a small number. Of course, I'm always looking for a wall-worthy card that I can get slabbed and put up on my wall. That would be a more exceptional card. So not real particular there. Then I enjoy opening a box. I've heard talk about the expected value of the box, that it's a financial thing and you're not going to get your money's worth. There's also an enjoyment aspect. I pay money to go to the movies. They don't give me any money back. There's lottery tickets. You can buy a lottery ticket, and the hobby box is a little bit of a lottery ticket. And a lot of lottery tickets return 0, but it's a chance. So part of the value of the box is the expected value, what you get financially, the enjoyment, the lottery aspect. And then there's a group experience. That's worth something too. It's a lot more fun to go to the movies with a bunch of people, which I just did last week, and experience it together. And there's kind of the individual learning experience, what you pick up from opening up the box. And lastly, I got a package from Upper Deck and had some boxes in there, a very nice variety. Just to start out, I got 25-26 Allure hockey, and 3 out of 4 hockey, obviously, because that's Upper Deck's specialty now. The Allure, very similar to previous Allures, which I like, $130 a box, been out for a couple weeks. I just don't know the 25-26 rookies yet. I know Matthew Schaefer and Ivan Demidov, but this is Upper Deck's chromium products, beautiful cards. Panini has Prism and Topps has Chrome. This is the chromium finish. They're all essentially the same. It was $130 a box suggested, and been out a couple weeks. Lots of good cards. I didn't get any great cards. And for me, that's not a problem. But for most people, all or nothing kind of collectors in many cases, they just really looking for the case hits. I'm just looking for good cards. So I was pleased. Got maybe a couple cards in there that were gradable. I'm looking at what could I have gotten out of a $1 box? What would be gradable? What would be perhaps for my wall. Then 2025 ingrained icons, a 1 per pack, $280 box, just been out a month or so. One of the things we did in my hobby life, before we did price guides, or at the same time, you have to catalog. You have to know what to call the set. Hockey sets, they're usually called by the season years, the 2 years. And there's other nomenclature. Some of them only want to list the first year, but when it's 2025 ingrained icons, that means last year. It was released at the very end of last year. But since it's not a current season product, it's built around retired players. That was cool. I got a card for my wall. It's a dual auto of 2 Maple Leaf stars that will go to BGS and then straight to my wall. So that's good to me. I could put that as a 6th thing. Did I get something for my wall? The other thing that comes up against Sports Card Insights is that this is a very interesting kind of a wood grain texture. It's not just a wood grain look like 62 Topps baseball, but it's a wood grain texture, very streaky. This points out the grading challenge that the first ones that come in, are they going to look at that and they've got to get acclimated. Each grading company may look at that a little different. They're not straight lines. It's a little streaky. It's artistic. But does the wood grain texture have to be uniform? So it's tricky. Again, I'm not in that business, but I remember thinking about all those things 25 years ago when we started. Third hockey box, which is actually my favorite, was the Blackhawks Centennial, 100 years of Blackhawks hockey. My first NHL game was going with my dad to Chicago. It wasn't a great arena, pretty old-fashioned, probably fall of 1959. And I remember my dad saying, watch that guy, Stan Mikita. Not a big guy, but he was hustling and tough and really good. But I'm very in favor of regional approaches to any of these cards. So the fact that Upper Deck has already proven this concept with the Bruins last year, any kind of a regional appeal is good for all the card companies, whether they're fully licensed or not. I like seeing these connections to the city and to the franchise. Everything in there is Blackhawks. Now, I was supposed to get 3 autograph or memorabilia cards. I got 5. I got 3 autographs and 2 memorabilia. Again, it's sealed. I do not believe in conspiracies in this way. But again, the card companies' legalese is such they don't want to go under. They want to do at least what they advertise. Otherwise, they've broken trust with collectors. So to give what's expected or slightly more. So that was my winner of the hockey. And then the bonus was this AEW Wrestling SP Signature Edition. $135 a box. You just get 4 cards. It says every pack, 1 autograph card. Every card is numbered. I like that. Then you know what you're dealing with. I got 2 autograph cards. Now, the problem is I'm always championing. It's good to know what you're collecting and to make it a game of skill. I feel like when I get 1 isolated box of an AEW, the other group of wrestlers, I'm just not up on it. I recognize some of the names, but I really don't know the hierarchy there. But when I look at the pictures, these guys are not like the wrestlers when I was a kid that were heavily muscled, but they were burlier, more body fat. Some of these wrestlers looks like they could play any sport, obviously strong, agile. And then my last rambling is that I couldn't pass a test on this AEW of who the top 10 cards are of the top 10 wrestlers. And I realized wrestling is a little trickier than the others, but this applies to all of them. When anybody is trying to figure out there's a correlation between statistics and card values, it always comes up short in terms of not being able to fully explain the variation. That's because people don't buy cards based on stats. Some people do, but more people are buying based on popularity. And you can't see that any better than with wrestling. Again, if they've been a world champ or they've won some belt, but it's more the popularity than the stats. Baseball is like that too. Football, basketball, there's a popularity aspect to it. And when it goes along with great stats, that's when you can hit the stratosphere. But a guy that hits a lot of home runs, but strikes out a lot and is never on a winning team, and if he's surly and not popular, he's going to go for less than the gregarious guy that does all the above. Thanks for letting me ramble. I'll be back again in a couple days, another episode, and keep collecting.
The man in the house of cards is doing